You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast. I am your host, Jim Coppinger, and with me, as always, is my business partner and co-host, the ever-cheerful Mr. Rocco Parisi. Say hello, Rocco.
Hello, fine people.
What makes you think they're fine?
Maybe I know they're fine.
All right, fair enough. All right, so today we got kind of a different topic. We're going to be talking about construction estimating. What are the best tools? Right? And I'm going to point out to people that if we're not as entertaining as we normally are, it's because we're re-recording this. We had some technical recording difficulties, so Rocco and I are actually going through this one for the second time. And yeah, personally, I blame Rocco. I'm pretty sure it was his fault.
Sure.
Let's go with that. Well, I mean, let's face it. If it wasn't you, it would have been me. And we all know I don't make mistakes. So never. So it has to be your fault. So let's go with that. All right. So today, what are we doing? Oh, I know what we're doing. We're moving a little bit outside the CAD world today. And I wanted to talk about some construction-focused stuff. And I want to do that for three important reasons, Rocco. Are you ready for my 3 reasons?
I'm ready.
I can tell you're waiting with bated breath. Number one, estimating does actually overlap CAD work to a certain extent. There's some built-in estimating functionality in CAD. So that's number one. Right? Number two, right? Construction is the end product of design work. Right? And I think it always helps to understand how your end users work with their output. Right? Who are the people who are consuming what we create? It's always good to know your target audience, or at least that's what Rocco tells me all the time. Okay? And number three, right? And I know you were waiting for this one. Number three is because Zentech does a lot of work with construction folks. So we actually have quite a lot of background in estimating as well as the CAD stuff. So that's what we want to get into today. So with that in mind, Rocco, like I said, we do a lot of work in the past with large scale construction ERP systems and advanced estimating tools, right? We've done sales and support and training on all of those tools. So let me ask you this. How has that gone for us here at Zentech? I mean, do clients respond to the large enterprise level systems for this field?
Oftentimes I say it comes down to the size of the firm, but in general, I wouldn't say that they're huge fans of big complicated systems. Simplicity is key.
Right. And that's absolutely correct, right? That's where I am. So I'll throw it out here and say, for decades, the media and the software companies, right, they've been pushing us all towards those large ERP systems. They always do the write-ups on them and why they're the great new next thing that's either a paradigm-shifting event. But honestly, like Rocco was saying, I see more and more companies that are moving away from those large format ERP systems. And the reasons that I always get are exactly what you said, right? The complexity and also the rigidity of those systems with large databases and formal procedures. The construction world is a really volatile and flexible one, and it's really vital that you can get unusual information taken off, priced, detailed on an as-needed basis. Every job is different. Enterprise level estimating and project management systems really can very often create more problems than they solve. In other words, if the lockdown processes of the software and the workflows that they require take more time to work through than the time you save on the actual estimating, then what did you really gain, right? The other problem I see is that these types of systems really struggle when it comes to anything that's on the fly, quick takeoffs, things like that. Sometimes a project manager or construction super, they need a quick takeoff of a floor area or just a single length of pipe, right? So something they can get a price or an answer, to a site concern. And that's not easy to get from those big estimating systems, right? Those, often require you to go in, set up a whole project, connect databases, supply extensive material details, etc., before you can even get to a simple measurement, right? And usually what, I tend to do is I guide people towards, particularly our construction clients, towards simplified quantity takeoff tools, right? Things that they can easily learn to use and they can apply on an ad hoc basis, right? But that still give them the capacity to develop full estimates with unit pricing, materials, make, models, manufacturers, whatever they need. Okay, so that's where we go. So let me ask you this, Rocco. What type of response do you get from smaller estimating systems, right, that people can tweak to their own work processes or even use, right out of the box, as opposed to trying to implement those big enterprise systems?
Well, I mean, they generally like simplicity. Simplicity, like I was saying. I mean, we sell and support Bluebeam, so obviously we're going to be bigger advocates for it. But we find that small to large firms are working with Bluebeam. I mean, it's affordable. It's easy to learn. It's easy to customize, and so that's what they really look for.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right. And I think that you hit on a key reason, right? One of the most important features in any estimating software is going to be ease of use. And I think another one is going to be file compatibility, right? Making sure that people can access the files, right? And that's why, like I said, we do recommend to most of our clients to make that move towards Bluebeam. Bluebeam Review, it's really robust. It's got a really nice quantity takeoff and even a markup system, right? And it works natively in PDFs, right? Which is what all of us use for everything, right? It doesn't have any proprietary file requirements, so all of its markups and takeoffs so will open and display in any PDF reader or writer, not just in Bluebeam. And we've worked with other systems like PlanSwift or OnScreen Takeoff, and they work in more graphic formats like TIFFs and JPEGs and PNGs. And that can cause real issues when you're trying to share takeoffs and estimates with other companies and contractors or even the clients. Don't get me wrong, both of those systems are absolutely great tools, and they have some benefits to using them, even over Bluebeam in some instances, right? I just think that the need to have a neutral file format can't be overstated. In line with that thought, one of the other things I think is important in any estimating system is its ability to integrate and to output to other software packages, right? None of us work with just one system as much as we might wish we could. Bluebeam, I think, has like a fantastic interface with Microsoft Excel, right, which is still one of the most versatile tools for costing and estimating out there. Review lets you output to Excel. Even you can create live links, right, to your own Excel file, so you can, so that prices, etc., all update in real time as you're performing your takeoffs. And a lot of those larger systems only let you generate output via their specific reporting tools, right? And that can be really limiting, because you have to develop and structure and format your reports before you can do it. Like I said, at the very least, right, it means you're going to spend a good chunk of time developing those formats that you need to build those from scratch, which is a little bit of a danger, I think, in terms of working with those large ERP systems. All right, so that kind of gives us a good format, I think, of what we're talking about here today. So I think we're going to take a quick moment to listen to today's sponsor, and we will be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. So today we're talking about construction estimating software. And I wanted to throw out some numbers on the construction industry as a whole and where estimating has its biggest impact. So as always, we get to go to the maths. Okay? All right. So per the JBK and Stadia sites, right, a little bit of research here, Rocco. Number one, construction spending in the USA for 2019, $1.29 trillion. That's with a T. That's crazy. That's a lot of money in one industry. Okay. 77% of that, $992 billion, was in the private sector. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 60% of construction firms are implementing new project management and estimating software. Right. That's almost 2/3 of them. 86% of those companies say that their use of technology is not effective or that they feel they need more training on their software. That's a huge chunk. That's good for us, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
So definitely a good plus. But here's the one that caught my eye, right? 59% of all construction companies use Bluebeam Review at some level, right? So number one, that is a whole lot of money, and that is a whole lot of people struggling with their technology. So, Rocco, did you have any idea that there were that many Bluebeam users out there?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it is definitely shocking, but I talk to construction firms all over the country that are using it. So at some level, it's not a big shock. What's interesting is that 76% number, that's pretty darn high, and it does indicate at some level that there's a lot of technology out there that's just underutilized because it's got too much storm power behind it, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and that's it. It's a concept of trying to create software that does everything you can ever possibly imagine, and I think that's a mistake. Right? I think it's about keeping software simple. Like I said, that's versatile, just something that you can go in and apply and adjust on those odd occasions when you need it, rather than having something that's pre-built to automate every potential change. And I think that's a lot of times we run across that. So, all right, so let's talk then about the software. I said we were going to talk about like what are the goods and what are the bads of the software packages out here today, right? So we're going to talk about my 5 top software packages for the estimating world here, and the pros and cons that I see in each one. Okay, so number one, no surprise, right, is Bluebeam Review. Right? It's my personal favorite, and honestly, it's not because we're Bluebeam partners and that we sell and train everybody on the software. We actually went up partnering with Bluebeam because I'd personally spent so long using it in the construction and design world on real projects. And it's as popular as it is because it's easy to use, it's versatile, it does a lot more than just estimating. It's also a markup, file sharing, collaboration, document comparing powerhouse as well, right? It works really well for just about any size project, from real small residential all the way up through like luxury high-rise hotels, right? It's very customizable, so you can make it work exactly the way you need to and share common tools, right, throughout your whole firm. The only real negative that I have for Bluebeam, right, and like I said, there's pros and cons to everything. I think that Bluebeam falls down a little bit. It's not particularly good at assembly level estimating, right? In other words, if you want to draw a single line for a wall and know every component piece, I want to know how much drywall, how many nails, how much insulation, stud sizes. Bluebeam doesn't do that really well. You can make it, you can fudge it a little bit and kind of get there, but it's not a particularly great tool for that. Right? But if you just need numbers for individual materials or processes, hands down, best and easiest to use tool out there on the market. So that's my number one. Okay. Number two, Procore. Right? Procore is one of the most powerful tools out there, and it is very widely used. Right? A lot of folks have both Procore and Bluebeam. Right? They work them back and forth together. Procore is a fully developed enterprise system for construction management and financial project controls, not just for estimating. It sells in modules, which while they are not particularly cheap, they are really good at helping you control construction projects. It really is probably the best in that aspect out there. The big negative to Procore is that I think it falls heavily into that fading ERP structure we've been talking about because of its complexity. Right? A lot of the modules inside of Procore do have overlapping tools and features, right? So the 4 modules all kind of do the same thing in certain respects, and that can cause a lot of confusion and a lot of conflict as to who's handling what and which tool should I be using to do that. So that's its big drawback. Sage, right? Sage is a very common name in the industry. Sage gives the benefit of having a fully integrated estimating and accounting system. It really is probably the best software we're talking about here today for financial tracking and doing postmortems. Right? It's really wonderful to go look back at your job and see where things went off schedule, went off budget, and how do we prevent that on the next one. It really is very good at that accounting aspect. So that's good, but I think that's also the problem. I think it's negative here. It's a little bit too heavily focused on financials. And I think that can cause headaches for estimators and project managers who are just looking to get some simple information on a small piece of a project, and they don't necessarily need to know and deal with the financial cost of every single nail that they put into the job. So I think that can actually slow folks down a little bit. Number 4, I have on-screen takeoff. For my money, it's probably the closest competitor to Bluebeam. In fact, when it comes to that assembly estimating piece, OST is just hands down better than Review by a good bit, right? If you need really detailed levels of takeoff for built items, like I said, like walls or decks, or you need sliding cost values for labor and overhead, then this is a better option than Bluebeam is. I think the biggest negative that I have for on-screen takeoff is that it's mostly just an estimating tool, and that it works only with that SaaS, that software as a service pricing model, which we've discussed before in other podcasts, and I'm just not a fan of it. Because here's the thing, it's not even considered cheap in terms of cost on that SA, that SaaS scale. For a renewing annual maintenance, it's really on the expensive side. Okay, so that's its big negative. And number 5, my fifth and final one here on my list for today, is Viewpoint for estimating. Viewpoint is a really solid system, but it's another one of those that fall into that enterprise market. I think its takeoffs work really well, and they can be transported to the other Viewpoint modules, for construction management, accounting, etc. But it is a really expensive system. If you're really looking for a full management ERP, something that handles your entire construction project from start to finish, Viewpoint is the answer. But let's face it, you really better have a wallet almost as large as Rocco's before you go there. Okay, so we're not all as wealthy as Rocco is, so we can't all afford Viewpoint. All right. So Rocco, with all of those different systems to choose from, all right, what do most of our clients have? What do they use most often, and what kind of responses do you get when these other systems come up in conversation?
I'm sorry, Jim. I was just talking to my butler.
See, exactly, right. And did he bring you your hot toddy?
One of my butlers.
one of your 12 butlers who just this was the casual bring me a drink butler, as opposed to your formal set out my robe and slippers butler. I got you.
No, so it comes down to Bluebeam, and again, I mean, we may have a larger audience of Bluebeam partners, customers rather, because it's what we do and we market. But again, large and small, there's customers across the country that are using the product, and so they love it. I mean, they really do.
Yeah, like I said, 59% of them are using it. It's got to have something that they all want, right? So listen, at the end of the day, right, not every software package is going to be right for every company. There's no generic answer here. I think that you have to use due diligence. You have to find, which package offers the tools that you need at a reasonable cost. And most importantly, which one is going to be the easiest to use. You can't stress that enough, right? Ease of use trumps price every time. A system that does everything that you can dream of, but nobody can understand how to use it, is far less effective than one that does a handful of things really, really well and is simple to work with, right? So, like I said, here I'll leave you with a little sales pitch, right? A little simple pitch for everybody to make Rocco happy, right? If you don't like the tool that you have now, or if you want help figuring out which one is best for you, right? Zentech Consultants is a great place to start. And Rocco loves talking to new clients. He gets tired of just talking to his butlers all the time. All right, so I think with that we can leave it there. All right, and I want to thank you guys for joining us. Say goodbye to everybody, Rocco.
Bye, everybody.
All right, folks, we will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast.